Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Cinema Color Podcast's Journey Through Bantam, our multi-part series where we do book dissections of some of the earliest artifacts of the Star Trek literary universe. That's right, we went back to the first new fiction that was ever produced and actually published. I'm sure there was lots of produced and not published, but this is the first produced actual fiction based on everybody's favorite sci-fi universe, Star Trek. This is our 9th episode. Ironically, we're taking up our 8th Bantam novel on our 9th episode because we also took a brief detour to Mission to Horatius, not a Star Trek novel, but the first ever published during the series 1968 Star Trek novel. Rob and I fell in love with Star Trek novels in the 80s, and we'll get to those eventually, but for now it's still February 1979 with Joe Haldeman's World Without End. And with me to discuss it, ladies and gentlemen, is my good buddy, the podcast namesake himself, Lord Rob. What do you got, Lord Rob?
I'm ready to trek, Butch. It's been too long. What's it been, a month or so since we banged one of these out?
Yes, exactly. Since we eggplanted one of these about. That's right.
Yeah, we're all the way up. I see. I read this the 27th of June.
So it's been a spell.
Yeah, it's been about 2 months, but we're up to 1979 when Star Trek's about to kick it into warp drive, so to speak, back in the public consciousness. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. When they wrote this novel, there were only 79 original series episodes, an unaired pilot, and 2 short seasons of an animated series of actual on-screen produced Star Trek to use as inspiration for series. They are about to get to the motion picture. It will be December of 1979, but by the time the odometer rolls over to 1980, as it were, they've got brand new on-screen Star Trek. We get lines like "the new screen's held" and how do you define unwarranted, and other such assorted things. It's like
and photon torpedoes away.
Yes, if you can't see, but I'm bouncing in wormhole effect here on the screen while I'm talking to Rob. So this is it's strange. This is the 9th novel we've done, and I think it's like the 7th, maybe 6th or 7th novel that seems at least partially based on Errand of Mercy. They all mention that Organian peace treaty. Holy cow, is that a literary thing? All the writers of these books kind of gravitate to the Organian peace treaty as a plot point that they got to cover, because they're always name dropping that one. But we also get a name drop of something called Tholians in this one. In fact, they're only mentioned in a footnote. Dr. McCoy's talking about other creatures that have a hive mind, and then there's a footnote that says, the Tholians are a hive mind. I was like, when did they establish that Tholians are a hive mind? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, is what I'm saying, because what we have to deal with in this one, if it seems...
I like the callbacks.
Yeah, I love the callbacks. I think that's great. I can't imagine why they don't do more of them. I think the reason they don't do more of them is they don't have as encyclopedic knowledge of the TV series as we do, because they haven't been watching it for 40 years when they're writing their books like we would be if we were writing a book.
They can't just go watch it to refresh their memory, right? They have to hope it's on.
That's exactly right. There might have been some bootleg tapes somewhere on reel-to-reel film or something. I'm sure somebody pointed their 8mm camera at their TV screen at some point and filmed some of these things. You got to imagine. It used to be, though, ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted to watch a Star Trek episode, you had to just wait around until it randomly popped onto your TV at 4 o'clock one afternoon. Already 4.5 minutes edited out of it because they had to get more commercials in for syndication.
Bastards.
You people don't know how good you got it in your date. You can get it on Amazon Prime or Paramount Plus right now. You can get Star Trek episodes.
Netflix, it's leaving.
It's leaving Netflix, but I have Paramount Plus, so it's all good. And, of course, I own all these on DVD, mostly because of my buddy Rob, who at some point gifted me all of the series on DVD. But anyway, so this is an interesting one. If
That's a friend right there. Hold on to that guy.
That's a good friend. You're never going to let a friend like that go. If this is going to feel a little similar to you, it's because we took this Trek not too long ago in an episode based on a book called The Starless World because guess what? We're inside another hollow planet-size, live on the inside surface of a sphere world, looking up at the star that's not really there. We're there again. This time it's a different kind of this. It's not a Dyson sphere, but it's going to feel a little bit like a Dyson sphere sometimes.
Yep.
Constructed by some people who are really powerful, and they put a bunch of people in there. Yeah, and if you're a Star Trek fan, this is also going to feel familiar because, hey, when have we ever seen somebody who was on a spaceship that they didn't know was a spaceship, or who was living in a society that was controlled by some sort of a machine? When have we ever seen that?
Well, the world is hollow, and let me ask this guy. Yeah.
That's exactly right. But I will say one thing. This is the first sentient artichoke I have ever seen. Actually, that's not true. I've played Plants vs. Zombies. I know that they're at least semi-intelligent on that. So, but we get the Klingons again. We get to see some new characters. So we'll get to all that stuff. And you have any thoughts about? We even get to see some of our side characters. Uhura gets to do some stuff. Sulu gets to do some stuff. Chapel
Scotty
gets to do some stuff. You know who? Scotty does a ton of stuff. You know who doesn't do shit? Again, Chekhov. Why can't these people write something interesting for Chekhov to do? Holy cow.
It's because, tiresome gets to write Captain and all that.
That's right. Well, they certainly lean in hard on the Scottish brogue whenever they're writing these things. It's all wit. We're saving ink by not printing the TH in with. We're going wit and an apostrophe. It's great.
Yeah.
But we get to meet some new fun characters like Lieutenant LaRousse, who I believe is a linguist who is fluent in Pig Latin. And then they said not really, but also really. God, they really played up the Pig Latin thing. I remember when I learned Pig Latin. It was about 1979 when I learned Pig Latin. Of course, I was 9.5 when that happened, but I thought it was really cool.
What's funny is Darlene still does not, or God, is it Darlene or Natalie? One of the women in my life, either my daughter or my wife, does not get Pig Latin. And I've explained it several times, and it must be Darlene. I don't know. But it's really funny. Yeah, because I'll just rattle it off. I'll be like, see, here's what I'm doing. And just, deer in the headlights.
Your hay is that way. I'm ooing day. That's right. So, anyway, we'll get there. It's all good. And then we get to meet Glockson, which is a short and hairy mathematician, which is always fun. Lieutenant Tuck Wilson, head of security. Ensign Moore, who doesn't really have much going for him other than he's young. And then, of course, who doesn't like, I'm sure you came away with a big affinity for good old Park Tinney, just like I did. I don't know what Park Tinney looks like, but I'm assuming she looks like Wile E. Coyote, and we'll get there. So it's all good. So
is that the underage alien that Kirk wants to bang?
No, that's the girl in the bat suit. That's what it is. But we'll get there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm getting my books mixed up.
So there's some interesting ideas in this. At some point I was like really thinking this novel was dragging, but then it kind of picked up at the end, and I landed. We'll see how we get when we get to the end.
Yeah, don't be shooting your wad with an even round right out of the gate, Butch. Come on.
That's right. All right. So, well, first up, you know how many of these novels start in the briefing room, Rob? A whole lot of them. Basically, if they're not starting in softcore, gay porn on a planet with the Romulan commander somewhere nearby, they're starting in the briefing room. That's what I'm saying. I wrote down that they are watching an occultation of Antares by Deneb, and then I said, nerds! But that's okay, because they're gonna unnerd it up really good, because we get a conversation with Lieutenant LaRousse and Mr. Spock talking about Pig Latin.
Well, at least, Butch, let me just say, I'm glad they are not chasing a rat who is acting funny.
A rad who's acting funny?
A rat.
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 Oh, yeah, you're right. Exactly. That is good. I will definitely give you that. No plague rat for us on this. They have some sealed orders awaiting them, and it's really interesting. They're like, well, that could be anything. I wonder, and then we are never going to see those sealed orders, because Uhura calls yellow alert because there's a strong magnetic field nearby that they have to go see it. Yeah.
Yeah, but Butch, you're skipping over the great classic Trek. What's the different word for trope? I hate the word trope. I think it's dumb.
Thing that always happens.
Go to.
Thing that always happens.
of the Enterprise being in a boring stretch.
Yep.
Oh, we're out here. We're bored. There's nothing to do. If only something would happen. What's this sealed orders? So I always like that when they do that. They can never do enough of that. Because it does, for me, I like that a lot of the space exploration is mundane and boring and long and not, so no Abrams anywhere within 4 sectors of the Enterprise.
It's a long slog to get to where you're going, buddy.
That's right.
They got a lot of time to hang out in the briefing room and make up languages, and that's what they're doing. So Spock's like, oh, yeah, kids used to do that in Vulcan. Nobody thinks it's particularly entertaining, but we all do it. But they have to go investigate something. It's a magnetic field somewhere, and it's due to a hollow planetoid, if you can believe it. Except it's weird. It's spinning on its axis, so it's kind of creating its own kind of gravity, and it's got basically a ramjet engine, which is actual science where, it goes fast enough that it collects enough hydrogen that it can convert the hydrogen into energy that can keep it moving at terrific speeds. Because even in an empty universe, there's still always a little bit of hydrogen, except that Spock has figured out that it's entering an empty area of space that it's eventually going to run out of fuel, and then what's going to happen?
And they've been at this for, about 100 years or something? It's a pre-warp generational ship. I always like that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, they're going to figure out in Chapter 2 that it originated about 3,000 years ago. And they figured it was escaping. They chase it back to a supernova that happened about 150 years after it left. 750 BC, basically, which it turns out that the Earthlings didn't see the damn supernova, but the Vulcans did. So there's a record of it. So that's where they think it came from. And
that was cool. And I also thought it was cool. Did you notice that there was diagrams in this book?
Yeah, it's the first time in any of these novels I've seen a diagram, but there sure was. And,
it reminded me of reading, a Michael Crichton book, or something.
Yeah, Haldeman here is trying to get a little technical with some of the stuff he's talking about. I mean, this whole ramjet engine, he calls it a Broussard collector from Daedalus Systems, which if you're a Star Trek complete nerd like I am, you know that the original drawings for the Enterprise included some ships that looked a lot different, and they just called those older versions of ships in the lore, and they called one of them a Daedalus class cruiser or whatever. It's the one with a round head at the start instead of like a saucer. It's got a sphere at the front end of it and stuff like that. That's a Daedalus class ship. So they're kind of doing this, and then they point out that they think there's 9 million beings living on this artificial planet. There's no artificial gravity, like it says. They stand on the inside because it's spinning, which creates an artificial gravity. Just
how many people are on it?
It said 9 million.
Oh, I wrote down 1 million.
It might have been 1. We'll say it's somewhere between 1 and 9 million. But there's so many mysteries about it. It's also the outer shell is made of some sort of a thing, and they spent a lot of time pushing numbers around. The atomic weight of whatever it is like 1,100. Which is really heavy and presumably really strong. So I don't know if it's neutronium, but it's pretty strong. So they're like, well, this is obviously something that's beyond us or whatever. But they can see that it's slowing down. It has no known destination. There doesn't seem to be anywhere it's going. So it's time for a discussion, and they talk for a while.
1 million. It's why I looked it up. It's 1 million. It says on page 7.
On page what?
Page 7. That's right. We're grinding this podcast to a halt for fact check. We're not like the news today.
In fairness, it says on page 7 there's more than 1 million people. So it could be 9 million.
It could be 9 million. That's right.
And that's where we're going to end the discussion. We will both declare victory and go home. Thanks for joining us. No, we're not done yet. So they decide there's too many mysteries here, and they got to science the heck out of this thing. So they figure scientists and communication staff down to this planet. They're going to beam people in there, and they're calling it a confrontation team. I know we never heard that term during the original series, a confrontation team. Is that what you call it when you're beaming over to another ship? A boarding? I thought it was a boarding party.
It also seems a little out of touch with the sort of peaceful, ostensibly peaceful nature of Starfleet and the exploration, all that.
Yeah.
When you have confrontation teams.
Yeah, I mean, what's all this confrontation about, man? Can't we all just get along? That's right. Well, so they got us put together a crew, and so when you're going to do that,
maybe they meant collaboration team. Let's collaborate on the enemy ship.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. That's right. So the boarding party is going to, I'm sorry, the confrontation team is going to be Kirk and McCoy.
What about fraternization team? It is
like
Kirk
I like it. Yeah, fraternization team. He's hoping, well, it would be if there's any girls down there. So he's going to play.
Did you say it was a pineapple in space or artichoke?
It's an artichoke, but a pineapple in space would be more Kirk speed, I think. So Kirk and McCoy and our good friend who we've already met, the linguist LaRousse, are beaming down because they're going to have to figure out how to communicate with people, and of course they don't always trust their trusty universal translator. Plus they got some security guys going down. Our security guy is Tuck Wilson. That's right. Our good friend Tuck Wilson, who they don't ever call Tuck again, by the way. Not once do they call him Tuck again after that.
So, do you think this is the book that started the long-running pattern of Star Trek novels having some kind of head of security who's a main character with some kind of nickname like this? I feel like that was done in the pocket novels over and over and over.
It's been too long since I've read them. I'm sure there is, like, Scotty Bojangles McPherson or something like that, I'm sure there's going to be some, John Crackerjack Rady or something like that. Actually, I stole that one from Starfleet Battles, the simulation game. So,
if you had I'm just kind of playing here, but instead of confrontation team, let's say I give you 30 seconds to come up with some different names. What do you got for me?
Invasion Force,
really,
Penetration Squad. Yeah,
more...
make something that's actually good. Landing party, boarding party,
team, maybe?
Contact team. That is exactly it. They're trying to make first contact with these people, so contact team is it. That's really what they're setting up, right? They're setting up scientists and linguists. It's a contact team, so that's what they're doing. Look at us. We already are outwriting this guy Haldeman, so it's great.
Yeah, you're off to a rocky start, Haldeman. Although I will say I really like Chapter 1, but. The confrontation team was jarring. That was jarring.
Not as jarring as a redheaded Scotty was a few novels back, but I'll give you that. So
that's true. So I wrote the fourth thing I wrote in my notes for Chapter 1 was Jesus. Here we go with Scotty's Scottish brogue again.
Can't understand a word you're saying, Scotty.
No, it looks like he leaned on the keyboard when he was typing it. I have no idea what he's saying.
Lean on the keyboard. Set my drink down, and all of a sudden the keys all stick. It's not my fault. All right, so that's where we're at this point. Chapter 2 is just the big discussion of how long ago this thing left, the ancient supernova, blah blah blah. Deciding that they're going to have to send in the confrontation team, and now
it was all good stuff. It was all good stuff.
Yeah, sure. And now Chapter 3 is them going in there. They beam over there, and sure enough, they have to use this neutrino like marker, right? This thing that they beam in first that make sure that they have a strong enough signal on the inside to actually beam people and all their personalities and stuff through there. Because otherwise there's not enough strong enough signal through this really thick shell. It's not a thick shell. It's a really strong shell of the outside of this planet. It looks like a planet on the outside, but there's a metal shell under the dirt on the outside of the planet.
I will thank you to leave my friend Jeff's fat wife Sharon out of tonight's podcast.
Woo. Oh, man, let me just check the time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you had 18 minutes in the pool, you are a winner. Ding, ding. Well done. 18 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, for the Jeff's wife pool. So congratulations on that. So it turns out that there is the
only pool she'll fit in, Butch.
There's a big old sun, as it were. I'm waiting for another Jeff's wife line up in the sky. So this is absolutely a Dyson sphere for sure. I'm not kidding. It's not even. It's much smaller, obviously, than the solar system size thing that we saw in the Starless World. But there is a star in there, just like there was a star in the Starless World.
When you say it's like abyssal sphere.
Abyssal sphere.
Yeah.
Okay. I would have thought
Dyson's like a good quality.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we're talking like a shop vac sphere or something like that. Yeah. It sucks. That's basically what we're saying. So And it's going to start sucking a lot worse. So I get in there, and there's a bunch of little short, hairy guys running around. They kind of have a little bit of wings on them, and they're just kind of ignoring everybody, and they're not really paying any attention. So Kirk decides, well, eventually, they have this long conversation. This chapter was long. I was writing notes on this chapter, and then I just had to start writing 3A because I was like, when is this chapter going to end? I'm taking so many notes on it. So this one,
Rich, did you ever play the Ratchet and Clank games? Probably not. I don't know if you're a video game guy.
I was not a Ratchet and Clank, but what's the other one? Doesn't matter. I was the other one.
Ratchet and Clank would have these cute, funny aliens all the time.
Yep.
And I was thinking these little flying squirrel aliens reminded me of something you would see. And so I was totally picturing like a Ratchet and Clank world.
Yep. Jack and Dexter. We were a Jack and Dexter household, not a Ratchet and Clank. But they also had the cute little. They also had the cute little aliens or other races and stuff like that.
Brett loved Jack and Dexter. He loved it.
Nothing to not love about Jack and Dexter. It was terrific. Yes, exactly. I still remember the day that who was it? My in-laws gave my kids a PS2 and they were playing that. It was terrific. He was like,
this is still the gold standard. The bar has been raised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, never has been topped since. I don't think so.
No, I agree with you.
At least in terms of leaping from what became for it. So now this is when we get that Tholian reference about maybe these things have a hive mind or whatever. And then Kirk starts talking to them, and they all run off to the hills. I mean, they're like freaked out as soon as he starts talking. It's clear that the universal translator isn't working perfectly. There's some words they don't understand or something like that, or the fact that they're hearing it, they don't understand it, but they take off. And then they decide that then some of the guys come back, and they got a little bit of the popo come out to get them. And so they pull out their phasers, and but before all that can work, they decide maybe we better just have them beam us back to the Enterprise rather than have an actual, what's the word I'm looking for, confrontation with these guys. And so that doesn't work. Apparently you can beam over, but you can't beam back, and so they're stuck, and they get capshaw.
Well, I will say it took a lot longer. It took us 3 long chapters. It wasn't instantaneous, like the world is hollow and I've touched the sky, where they beam down and next to some cylinders, and whoop, there it is,
That's right. It's a novel, so they get to talk about it for a while first. And that's good. I think that definitely that's where a novel can come in more than an hour-long TV show or even a 2-hour movie, because you can kind of languish on kind of the details of exposition because it's a novel. You're not needing to have booms and buzzers going off at all the time.
Exposition team would have been better than.
There you go. See, now we're talking an exhibition team. Did I get that right? Nope. Nope. That's the Pineapple House again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Anyway, they try to explain to these people that have now captured them with ropes and such that they're from outside the sphere, and they're not buying it. They're like, there's no such thing. You're making stuff up. Nobody believes you, losers. They don't know what they are. They think they're Klingons, or actually they're calling them magicians at this point, I think is what they're calling
Insane magicians.
Insane magicians in the membrane. So this is all good, and they're good. They don't know they're in a ship, and they won't be convinced, and they talk about those magicians, and then they're off to jail, and then that's where I wrote parentheses, the endless chapter. Some high-tech, invisible, dense metal fences that you can't see them, but it's a force field, and if you try and push too hard in the force field, it cuts you. It's basically a little infinitesimally microscopic, like razor blade field that you can't see, but if you push too hard, and it's all made of that really dense metal too, so you can't do nothing with it. So that's a pretty effective force field. If you try to push too hard, it just cuts you. No matter how strong you are, all you're going to do is succeed in cutting yourself to pieces. So that's no good. So they're stuck for a while.
You're telling me you don't have a Bryan Adams reference here? Come on.
Nope. You can't. And you can't make me. It was the summer of '69 when this came. It wasn't even the summer of '69 when this came out, but it was '69.
Summer of '79.
'79. No, damn it! I was so close.
Like a knife.
All I know is whatever year it was, Jimmy quit and Jody got married. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. I'm still not good. You can't make me do cuts like a knife. You just can't make me. I'm telling you.
I know you're going to do it.
I'll sing in the heat of the night. I'll sing everything I do.
I gotta tell you, Jim. I expect Butch to break into it around round 7. He's gonna have Rob up on the ropes, break into Summer '69, straight into a medley, cuts like a knife. Back to you, Larry.
It's gonna go. It's going to go summer 69, and then everything I do it for you from Robin Hood. And all for one and all for love from that frickin' what do you call it? The Three Musketeers movie or whatever.
I thought I was doing good learning my second Kansas song a week ago. Now you got me up to 4 Bryan Adams tunes.
Well, congratulations. It was a worthy trip to make on that one. So now we have to, the second half of the chapter, by which I mean the fourth, fifth of the chapter, is Spock is now, he's in command of the ship, of course. And he's kind of summarizing for those of you who have fallen asleep and put the book down 3 times and restarted the book 3 times on this chapter that you can beam in, but you can't beam out. They might have to drill a hole through the surface of the ship with phasers, but that would be a little confrontational, as it were. And so they're ready to respond if needed with sending more people. And then, but then we get some details about the aliens. And the aliens are apparently a bunch of different castes based upon clans and the jobs that they do. And they wear different colored feathers depending on what their job is, and they speak different languages, and you can only talk to the caste above you or below you. You can't talk to any other caste except for
And I wrote down that I read this book. Remember that heat spell we had at the end of June? I wrote, it's in the 90s and I'm dying. So I'm actually glad that Spock is summarizing this for me because I did think it was interesting.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So Kirk, of course, stuck for what to do in prison. You got a couple choices. Either McCoy can fake having a stomach ache, or he can bluff them. And so he decides.
I can't take it. Guard.
Yeah, doing as they trip over at the piano wire, and then punch and stuff. But he doesn't go for that. Instead, Kirk leans into the idea that they're calling him a magician. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm a magician. Bitches, want to see what I can do? Go ahead, pick a card, any card. Go ahead. Is this your card?"
Right here.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. He goes for the bluff gambit, and he's accused of being a magician, so he stops short of actually being one, though, because they don't have the ability to do that. And then, so that's kind of where we leave off the chapter. It's an odd place to end the chapter. So much has happened. There were better places. I'm just saying there are better places to end that chapter. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I also wrote down, did you talk about maybe I blinked out, as it were, but finding the old Klingon ship wreckage on the asteroid.
We're not there yet. We're just about to get there.
Oh, because I have that written down for chapter 4. Was I off at chapter?
I was still on 3. See,
shit.
It was going forever. So now we're on chapter 4. Spock is summarizing the Chitalans now for our readers. That's the people who live on this planet, or the whatevers that live on this planet, the Chitalans. This is apparently Chitala. There's 256 castes. Each is replaced occasionally. They don't have little baby Chitalans. They die and then they're replaced or whatever. And we don't know how or why, but they don't consider it like generations or anything like that. They consider it, there's only the certain number of them and they get replaced. So
time to stock the shelves.
Yep, that's exactly right. So, and they're no doubt, this is no doubt different from how their ancestors understood the world or whatever, but this is the world we're living in. Again, they've been out there 3,000 years or something like that, right? So that's the gist of it. So, and then that's when Enterprise, while scanning the planetoid, finds the wreckage of a Klingon ship on the outside of the planetoid. And it's old. It's like 110 years old or something like that. And there's no survivors. It's cold in there, as it were. And they figure out there's no... Yeah.
Not to interrupt you here, but I'm surprised on a 3,000-year voyage they don't have more ships. You'd think there'd be all kinds of ships.
Space is very big, so, and there's only so many spacefaring races, I guess. The fact that the first...
wouldn't that have been kind of cool if a bunch of ships you'd never seen before were ancient races?
You would think so. And at this point, though, we don't know why that ship's there. So, of course, they're going to investigate. They figure that there's no reason for that ship to be there because at the rate it's spinning, the gravity is not strong enough to hold it there. The ship should have flown off a long time ago. So they're going to beam over. And Sulu's going to get a chance to lead an away team, not a confrontation team. So that's cool. And then they get over there. Sulu gets to explore the Klingon ship, but at first he's doing some zero-G maneuvers on the outside of the planetoid. One of the guys gets thrown off of there somehow, tripped over something, and so they beam him back to where he was, which is kind of cool. That's what transporters are for. And then eventually they beam them into the Klingon ship once they discover that there's nothing in there. So now they're downloading the Klingon log. turns out that log shows that they encountered the sphere, they invaded the sphere. A lot of people died. We get some interesting details, by the way, about the Klingon culture in this.
Great. I loved it.
Some of these details actually carry over to the Klingons we know and love from future iterations of Star Trek. So, for example, they talk about the Klingon captain has a whole bunch of priests on board, right? And the priests are talking about obscenities according to Klingon beliefs or whatever. But it's interesting because we see some Klingon priests in Star Trek The Next Generation late on in that series. You know, they have like this place called Bereth where they have a whole temple and they have a bunch of priests that live there. They're working on trying to bring back the Emperor and stuff like that. And they bring him back as a clone. Spoiler alert for those of you who are waiting for our TNG
right?
podcast.
We don't remember Klingon ships having priests on board.
No. We only ever see we see a bunch of Klingon captains and occasionally their first officers and once or twice their science officer girlfriend.
And maybe a drooling dog, right?
That's right, yeah. Well, we haven't even seen that at this point, right? That's not till 1983. So we're not there. We're not there yet. So, but the important thing is that the Klingons who didn't die in the battle committed suicide, except for the priest that had to stay there until the end, and they froze to death, and that's whose log they're reading. So now, but the thing is, now the Enterprise crew knows that the risks of hanging out too close to the sphere is that you can't get away, and B, it drains your energy away. Because what happened is all their energy got drained, and then they just got pulled in and smacked against the planetoid, right? And that's where they remain today. So that's kind of a bummer. You don't want to do that. But it turns out they might have to make that plan for later. So,
the Enterprise is similarly ensnared.
I didn't know what's happening, Captain. The engines aren't working. It's going to happen at some point. So that's into chapter 4A. I put 4 and 4A because that was another long chapter. And now we're going to
we took a 4A.
Yeah, we're going to spend some quality time with our first Chitalan that we met, whose name was Wuchal. He's like the short guy who's like going to be their guide along their tour through the inferno that is this ship, apparently, is what it is. Kirk's Virgil, and this guy's Virgil to Kirk's whoever's who wrote the Inferno. So
Dante
Alighieri, thank you, right? Dante Alighieri Kirk, that's his name. That's Dante Tiberius Kirk. That's right. So they find out that these guys have a whole bunch of ideas, and he's like, by the way, my boss is going to get here, a real magician, not like you fake magicians. And pretty soon that magician shows up. They call it, he's larger and winged and looks like, how should I say it? Could it be Satan? They actually say that. It looks a little bit like Satan, the magician, and he thinks they're Klingons. He's convinced that they're Klingons, and they're like, well, we're not Klingons. We only have one liver. Klingons have two livers. No difference. You're close enough.
In fact, he was speaking Klingon, wasn't he?
That's right. Because he assumed they were Klingons, so he had learned that at some point in the past, and now we're starting as readers to put this stuff together because we know that there's that Klingon ship out there. So clearly, and the Klingon log said that they went in there, so they've had experience with Klingons before. So maybe that's why they think they're Klingons. So they're all working on Enterprise is stuck in place already by this point, and there's no way that they can get away from the alien planetoid. Their power is being drained by the alien planetoid, and then our friend Glaxon, who's our little hairy guy who's on the crew, not to be confused with all the little hairy guys running around inside the planetoid who are not Glaxon. Him and Spock are deciding to do some math, and there's a lot more math equations in this book, just like the diagrams you mentioned before. I don't know if these math equations mean squat. They're clearly drawing them to make it look like maybe it's math, or maybe these guys actually are mathematicians that Haldeman is and wrote this. I just said nerds is what I wrote. So
yeah,
you can't afford to piss off the Chitalans at this point because it turns out they might be stuck there for a while, and if they're stuck there for a while, what happens to Klingons happens to them. They're going to have to come on board this place and live there, even though the food's kind of poisonous and all that stuff. But they'd have to figure out a way, and you don't want them trying to kill you while you're there. There's between 1 and 9 million of them, right, and 400 of you. But again, we do have our chance to get annoyed in chapter 5. Now we're on the other half of chapter 5, and our magician friend, by the way, is annoying. He's even annoying compared to our little buddy Wachal. I mean, I think the way that the author here is showing us there's a language problem is that these people are just annoying as fuck, right? That's really the gist of it. Is like, yeah, no,
Yep.
you don't. That doesn't mean nothing. So blah 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 blah. They're just sticking their fingers in their ears and going la 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 la. Yeah, that's kind of how I think it is. Did these guys come across as annoying to you, Rob?
Yeah, I thought it was at work when I was reading that.
I get it. So, yeah, it's totally good. So,
I don't have to listen to you. You don't agree with me. La 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 la. Yeah.
So now we do find out that they're not afraid to inflict a little pain because LaRousse gets a little talky, gets a little lippish at him, and so they hit him in the arm with a spear. Although it just kind of pokes him in the arm, he's fine. Walk it off, buddy. And then McCoy gets one in the tummy. That's how you know it's not too bad, because he gets one in the tummy and he's fine. They're just kind of like an instrument of get back in line, you nitwit kind of thing.
Yep.
And then of course it being convincing them that they're not Klingons is hard. And then at some point their phasers have been confiscated by the Chitalans. And at some point, they're starting to make sense to our magician friend, and all of a sudden there's an explosion nearby. And they figure out, oh, it looks like they pushed the wrong button on the phaser. So that's going to be a problem. That's not a good, that's confrontational is what that is, really. I think we can
Yes,
get
it is. Let's get this confrontation party started.
Or is it, I should say, it's explositional. Did I get that right, maybe? Okay.
Yeah. Exposition.
Yeah, so the explosion happens, and now Spock goes in. Spock comes in, beams in. He detects the explosion. Now he beams over, knowing he can't go back at this point. He comes in, guns ablazing. He stuns both the magician and our buddy Wachal. They throw him over the shoulder, and they're jailbreaking the good old fashioned way, which beams somebody down with a phaser and break them out that way.
And just in the nick of time, because our boys had been ordered sentenced to death, Butch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we might have had all of our main characters die in Chapter 5A, as it were. So I'm pretty sure we knew that wasn't going to happen. So, but it's nice to have a jailbreak that's not done by a laser made out of a transponder in your arm, or oh, I'm sick. I'll talk.
Don't care if you hit the backside of a barn.
Yeah. And anyway, I don't know what else to say other than cuts like a knife. Da, 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 da.
Thank you. I do it.
All right. So and at some point, somebody wrote the line, and I quote, "Elevators don't have ears," in this chapter.
What?
I read it. I don't know why I read it, but it's at some point they're like, did you call the elevator? And they're like, elevators don't have ears. Again, we're playing fun games with the language barrier here, right? They're too literal. They're not like metaphorical. So, did you call the elevator? Somebody says elevators don't have ears. I don't remember if it's Wachal or the magician. Doesn't matter. Their jailbreak succeeds, and they end up in a running battle where they got to find a boat or something, and then they're off to see the magicians on their island. And they figure out the Chitalans are clones. And the Chitalans, are no longer think that they're Klingons, or they're starting to believe maybe they're not Klingons. But I don't know this nonsense where they think they got to find a boat and they got to cross it on the island and they got to find some of the magicians or wizards or whatever.
And because they're on this weird abyssal sphere, the gravity's funky, the water's weird, right? And they're going to the island of Dr. Moreau, basically, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Misshapen clone mistakes and stuff. So this, I thought there was some good stuff here in chapter 6. Are we in chapter 6?
We're just starting chapter 6, and as we start chapter 6, Spock is down there now too. So you know who's in command of the Enterprise? Scotty's in command of the Enterprise, and so he's beaming down weapons to Planetoid. So that they will be armed down there. It turns out that the guys on the Planetoid, the Chitalans, don't have much in the way of weapons beyond spears and ropes and such things. So phasers would definitely have them outgunned, as far as we know. So they're doing that.
At this point in the book, Butch, aren't you wishing for a moose?
A moose.
Yeah, don't you wish we'd had Bullwinkle or somebody go along with all these flying squirrels? Wouldn't that have been great?
I think it is time for the confrontation team to beam down and do something. All right, watch me pull a Summer 69.
Butchwinkle, not again.
Watch me pull a confrontation team out of my hat. So, yeah, this is when we find the island of misfit toys, as it were, the jungle full of mishaps.
We need to get back to sponsors, Butch, because we could have said this,
yeah.
That train wreck was brought to you by
Bissell. Bissell is our sponsor for this week's episode. If you've got a favorite vacuum, it's probably not Bissell. Now back to the show. It's nothing phasers can't handle. All these monsters coming out, and they have jellyfish monsters coming out, things with mouths in the wrong place coming out, the misshapen things coming out, the squirt gun that only shoots grape jelly coming out. I mean, it's all the misfit toys are coming out. Charlie in the box is jumping out there after him. It's madness. It's mayhem. But they have phasers, and the other things don't, so they just pile. The bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor of the jungle floor, as it were.
That little-known Bryan Adams track, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Yeah, it's messy. I'll give you that. And Scotty is getting frustrated up there for whatever. Scotty and the security guys are frustrated and waiting for their opening to happen. Kirk said, don't beam anybody down unless absolutely necessary. And Scotty's like, it might be necessary now. He's a champion at the bit to kind of go in with a little bit more firepower than Kirk's willing to flex at this point, right? What else?
Are we still on 6?
I think we're wrapping up 6. What else you got on 6? Anything?
No, but I just am really looking forward to Chapter 7 here.
All right, well, tell me about Chapter 7.
Well, we get this fun, non-canon backstory about Kirk's dad being a mayor in rural Iowa, presumably next to the new Grand Canyon that J.J. Abrams placed there. And he's a member of the conservative Back to Earthers group. I thought that was pretty funny.
Back to Earthers, yeah, the Back to Earthers. There actually is a Star Trek Enterprise in Season 4 introduced some Earth for Earthlings, a group and stuff like that actually they put RoboCop himself, Peter Weller, in charge of that and stuff like that. So maybe nice. Peter Weller was Kirk's granddad or something like that or something.
Didn't you think that was kind of fun though? This story that is completely different than anything we've ever heard about Kirk's family or whatever.
That's the most fascinating thing about these novels, is especially the early ones, is this is their chance to fill in details on people's lives.
Yeah, you can do whatever the hell you want.
We saw that with the Her and World in the Starless World and stuff like that, where you meet her dad and all this stuff, and her dad was a freighter captain or freighter officer and stuff like that. So we're getting a little bit on Kirk, and that's always nice. And of course, that's going to come in handy because Kirk has to drive a wagon with some beasts of burden. And so, his Iowa roots and his traditionalist dad are going to come in handy with that because he knows how to handle the working end of a riding crop, right? Am I right?
Butch.
Him and Captain Stiles. Okay.
So you mentioned Beast of Burden. We're talking about a book that was sucking in the 70s. I just want to give a shout out to Charlie Watts, the late, great drummer of the Rolling Stones. I am bummed about this. Yep. Passed away earlier this week. So I want to give a Rolling Stones shout out. I was lucky enough to see the Stones twice, once in '89 and once 2 years ago. Did you ever see them, Butch?
Never saw them live. Very sad.
Amazing.
Yep. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Legendary. And a band that had a much longer stage shelf life than most, for sure, right? So yeah, that's great. So now...
Started in 6 different decades, if you can believe that.
That's amazing. That's pretty amazing, and they have, so obviously not in the 2020s yet. So
yeah, they did. Or
so that makes 7 decades.
Maybe not. No, 6, I don't 7, know. 8, You're 9, probably right.
2.
Probably did in their 20s.
Yeah, I was going to say that would make 7 decades because they were around in the 60s. So
well, they probably will. There's often a spike when someone passes away or something. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely, they could chart this year. We'll see. So I'll tell you what, if Mick goes down, it's definitely going to happen. That's for sure. So
yeah, that's for sure. But I did like Charlie Watts. He was my favorite Rolling Stone. So
oh, really? Well, that's great. Absolutely. Not even their original guy, was it? Didn't he?
Well, he was. Yeah, he was.
Was he the
drummer?
Yeah. Okay. Why did I think they had a different drummer originally?
You're thinking of Rush.
That's what it is. Who did Keith Moon play for? Was that the Who?
The Who.
Okay, that's what it was. I was like, damn it! I was Keith. Obviously, they wouldn't have had two Keiths. Come on, Butch, pull your shit.
Rush had some guy, and then after the first album, he quit or got fired, and they had Neil Peart for the next 45 years or whatever. So, and he died earlier this year too.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Cinema Color Classic Rock Podcast.
That's right.
No,
Star Trek.
We're trekking.
Star Trek Classic Rock. They go together.
We're trekking. Damn it!
I don't mean sabotage.
Yeah, no, that's not classic rock either. This is when we finally get a name for our magician that they have absconded with. His name is Talalis. That is a tough-ass name. We got 3 L's in your name. You know you are a badass when you got 3 L's in your name. And he's kind of still talking smack about, you don't realize, you don't know what you're up against and stuff. And this is when they start to see the first mention of plants in this. They talk about their gardeners or whatever. They're plant masters or something like that. Some of these people are plant masters. And you're like, that's an interesting detail.
Do you like hot dogs?
Oh, shout out to The Happening, which we did earlier this week on our podcast. That's right. If you missed it, ladies and gentlemen, it was over the weekend. Go check it out. The Happening, Shamalagas number 3.
Yeah, the stage performance of The Happening, of course, Paul Stanley played the botanist. So.
I was made for planting you, baby. Oh,
I'm sure he's planted a few.
I'm sure he has. So, Chapter 8. Wow, that's when the Enterprise is sending out a distress signal with all the details about current events. They are doing a good job of making sure you probably set the book down when you finished a chapter, and you probably need a refresher about what the last chapter was about. So they're filling you in the terms of a distress signal that Scotty is sending out. Hopefully the Federation hears this signal, and maybe they will, but you know who hears it first? Captain Kulane of the Klingons.
I like it when you recap with a distress. How often have you been halfway through a book and been like, wait, what again? Because it does take you a little while to figure out who's
That's
what.
Right. That's right.
What's where. So I like that, and I always like when Captain Kool-Aid, hey, oh yeah,
oh yeah. So we need Captain.
I love Klingons overhearing. Star Trek never gets tired of that. It always is good. So. Yeah.
Captain Kulane's all about practicality, and his priest Cal is all about blaspheming and stuff like that. But anyway, they're ready to either die or get some vengeance, and this is when we get our reference drop for the Organian Peace Treaty. Luckily, they don't spend any time talking about Organians this time. We just hear about the treaty. That's the way we like it.
Well, and luckily we don't get, the Klingon commander's big plan is to trick some dumb bitch into planting a bomb on the Enterprise. That was awful.
That is definitely not happening in this. However, there is plans eventually to plant a big bomb. So there's that. So they can't get around that. So they said dying in battle would, of course, be glorious. It's very much this chapter is where you really feel like TNG Klingons are predicted. They aren't the scheming, devious, treacherous bad guys. They're dying in battle, like a Viking. That's what you want to do, to go to Klingon Valhalla or whatever. And you can see that a little bit here. And so they prepare to die.
Our listeners, that is Butch trying over and over to get me to figure out where Valhalla is, because I, for the longest time, thought that was India. Remember, how many times you corrected me on that?
Probably
20, 30?
Nirvana is India. Valhalla is Scandinavia.
Yeah. And I'm starting to figure it out.
Up in the land of the ice and snow, I think, is Led Zeppelin, we'll say at some point. So, yeah.
Is it by Xanadu? That's my Rush reference.
Xanadu is actually probably more Indian subcontinent, now that I think about it.
Oh,
so
right,
Shangri-La is. I can't remember. Whatever.
All right.
Akator is the one with the city of gold in Peru.
Welcome to the
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull
podcast. Which one has the Crystal Skull? I wanted to know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cinema Color podcast on ancient mythology. That's
and
coming
classic
soon.
rock and Trek.
That's right. So that's how we get ourselves back to the bucolic countryside of the interior of the space planetoid. Kirk and company riding in their wagons, catching a few Z's, talking a little bit. We find out the Klingons have launched something called a Nova bomb. That they sent a reply back and said, by the way, thanks for the reply. We sent a Nova bomb to blow your ass up so we can come take that planetoid you're talking about. So there's a Nova bomb coming. We don't know what a Nova bomb is. We can draw a picture about it. Scotty's pretty sure that they're fucked if the Nova bomb gets there before the Federation.
Well, that goes without saying, but did you just gloss over a reference to Disney Moon?
Oh, we're not there yet. Trust me, I have Disney Moon written right there. I can look at Disney Moon.
Okay,
that's coming.
All right. So
we're not
my
there
notes
yet.
are backwards from yours because I have Disney Moon, then Nova bomb.
So Chekhov and Klaxon say 46 hours till the Nova bomb gets there. So they beam down some more food. By the way, what kind of food are they eating in the 23rd century? Ham sandwiches. What else? It's like, nobody's got like a chicken curry or something. No, they're eating ham sandwiches just like everybody else was from the 30s through the 80s. Ham sandwiches. Nobody's discovered pizza yet. Nobody's discovered street tacos yet. Nothing.
There's no milk allergies, right?
Street tacos don't have any cheese in them. I'm just saying. Yep. Yeah, you're good if you can have barbacoa and onions and cilantro. You're fine. Although in a corn tortilla, you're probably okay with a corn tortilla. There's no gluten in there.
That's right. You might be onto something here, Butch.
Yeah, we're going to do tacos at some point when we get together later this year.
All right.
So,
sounds good.
Yeah, so this is what Spock's still counting on the odds of a Nova blast. We get this long 3-page section in this chapter where Spock is doing all these calculations about there's several things that can happen. Maybe it'll go off and it won't be strong enough to destroy the ship. Maybe it'll go off and it's strong enough to destroy the ship but not strong enough to destroy the sphere. Maybe it'll go off and it's strong enough to destroy both, but the sphere will figure out a way to nullify it. And blah, blah, blah. It's just nonsense. It's Spock being analytical. And they're like, we got to get close to 150 pages, damn it. What do you think this is? Another one of the Phoenix novels, for crying out loud. So then Spock makes a joke. He says, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Did I make a joke? Har, har. Nobody laughs. So now in chapter 9, that's when they finally get to the lake, and they're like, well, we just got to find a boat. But the problem is there's no gravity there, so the lake is just kind of boiling, and there's globs of water floating around, and they're like, there's just no way across here. What do we do? Everybody flies places on this damn planetoid. The magicians have the wings. Even the Chatalans don't have enough wings to fly through there. So they're like, how are we going to get some wings? And they're like, hey, did you ever watch Roadrunner cartoons? And maybe if you ever watched Roadrunner 2 cartoons, did you ever go to Disney Moon? I could not tell you how fired up I was when they said Disney Moon. There's a Disneyland on the moon.
Point there. I have an exclamation point when
it's somewhere in Disney Moon. There's a hollowed out cavern in the moon where there's almost no gravity, and you can just fly around with the greatest of ease in your wingsuit.
Almost like you're in Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah.
Almost like you're in Las Vegas, Nevada, or the Arizona desert chasing a roadrunner. If I haven't been clear enough on that. The fact that these are birdseed powered bat suits is really a telling sign that Acme is who makes these, right? So the thing is they have this idea to do that, and then then they have to get a Lieutenant Park Tinney to come down. She apparently is really good. She's one of the ensigns. I guess I said lieutenant. I think she's an ensign. Park Tinney.
She plays her cards right.
Parker Tug Tinney or whatever. I don't remember what's her name. It's Park is what it is. I'm trying to remember.
Well, we're gonna have Nip Tuck maybe.
Trying to remember the other guy's name. Tuck. Tuck was the other guy. Not Tug, but Tuck was the other guy.
My name is Tuck, and I like to fly around. That's what his pickup line is.
Yes, and it counts. All right, so now we have Scotty and Glaxon are up on the Enterprise, and they're going to try and snipe the Nova bomb as it's coming in. There's almost no power left in the Enterprise.
Did you notice too, Butch? Before you get to this, all kidding aside, I like that they had some Uhura and Scotty chemistry, which we will get later in the films.
Star Trek V, we're going to see this come in action. Makes you wonder if Shatner, who wrote that movie, makes you wonder if he read this book. I can't imagine. Can you imagine? Imagine Shatner reading this book? In 1969, he's like, "Oh, you remember last year when I was doing Star Trek? I should read the novels." That's what he was thinking. I need more Star Trek in my life. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah, he's reading this going, who am I fucking here?
Yeah, I'm not. It's not these 3 foot tall hairy people, is it? Come on. I can't. I ain't getting down with that. I ain't trying to see that. So they find out. Unfortunately, our landing party does. First of all, Scotty and Glaxon failed to snipe the Nova bomb because their phaser is not powerful enough to detonate it. Because they're almost out of energy, which is a really bad sign. So he beams Glaxon down, and then he doesn't have enough power to beam himself down. Scotty is all alone by himself on an Enterprise with no power, like no artificial gravity, no heat, nothing. He's gonna freeze to death, just like those Klingons did on their ship as it slowly.
This is always weird. It's always strange in Star Trek when you get down to one person left on the ship. We saw it a couple times in the series. We saw Kirk by himself
twice.
Yeah.
Well, one of them wasn't the real Enterprise. Honestly, it was the Gideon
mock-up version. Yeah.
Not that wasn't awesome.
Because exact plans for the Enterprise are just lying around.
Yeah, we got switches that. Yeah. By the way, we took great pains to make sure all the beeps and boops sound the same.
Unbelievable.
and all this stuff. But we are.
How did we rank that? That's got to be one of the dumbest.
I think
episodes.
it was in the bottom 10.
Okay, good.
So if you haven't checked out our Trek Through TOS podcast, ladies and gentlemen, what the hell are you doing? Get on that. We're recording another one tomorrow. Our number 13 episode is recorded tomorrow. So back to this show. Wachal attempts suicide, but Lieutenant Tinney prevents it. He tries to throw himself in the water, and Tinney just won't let him do it. She skips him like a rock out of the lake.
I can't believe I didn't even. Is that true? He tried to kill himself?
Yeah, it's very subtle. I didn't see it till the second time I went through it.
Okay.
When I was writing notes.
So I was like, how did I miss a suicide attempt?
And now, Chapter 10, Uhura. Scotty puts Uhura in charge of the evacuation of the Enterprise. And but first they have to have that little amorous romance thing. And I did write presaging Star Trek 5. Right. It's a chaste kiss on the cheek. I'm like, there are kids reading this, people. Come on.
I gave that round 10-9 to Scotty. How'd you score it?
I scored it 36-24-36 Uhura. So, So Glaxon is this is when they failed to snipe the missile, of course, and then and then this is when we find out that the aliens on the planet don't reproduce; they reproduce by reconstruction rather than the hunka chunka, is what I wrote. And then this is her story on this is that their moon's not bananas, or if you will, eggplants, and that's literally she has this story from like her grandfather told about how Adam and Eve were given a choice to be moons or bananas, and they chose bananas, so that they die, but their seed will someday live on, kind of a thing. And instead, the Chitalans, they just get reborn. The same version of them gets recopied. It's like the photocopy machine. You got to admit, the banana way is a lot more fun. So, plus
I find it appealing.
Woo! Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We should just cancel the podcast. That was so lame. I'm sorry. I would like to apologize.
It's 11:46 at night. We can live with it. So now we're on.
I feel rummy. I haven't had a drink in like a week, and I feel rummy tonight.
I'm drinking Irish cream, coconut milk, coconut cream, and chocolate syrup.
Is that what you're drinking?
On ice. That's right. Yes, exactly.
What do you call that? The diabetes?
Yeah, diabetes. That's exactly what it is. It's a small amount of coconut cream, so just enough to bump it over. So, and now, hold on, as Paul Harvey would say, and now, page 4, ladies and gentlemen, true value. No, okay. So the Kirk group prepares to.
I can't believe we snuck in, you snuck in a Paul Harvey reference, right?
Paul Harvey.
Good day.
Good day.
Who did you give a shout out to in our very first Cinema McCullough episode?
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that. I don't remember.
Oh, it was like, oh God, it was like 70 years old. It was so funny.
I'm so inspired to listen to it now. All right, but back to our show. So as we saw right before they got captured, because all of a sudden the magicians on the island that they're going to have those weirdo like invisible net things, and there's just no escaping those. That you can't even phaser them. There's nothing you can do. So they're captured, and they decide to prepare to surrender their phasers, but they're going to hide 3 sneaky phasers. Tuck is going to have one. He's going to tuck it away, as it were. Monroe, or whatever his name is, I can't remember what's the other guy's name.
It doesn't matter.
It's Moore, Ensign Moore, and then our good friend Tippy Hedren, the bird. If you're trying to wonder, she it's Tippy or something like that. She has one up her sleeve, or that's what her story is. And then they have to explain their weapons, and one of the magicians says, "Give me a demonstration. Kill somebody." And he's like, "I'm not going to kill somebody. I can't do that." Well, we're just going to recreate him anyway. It's like, why are you guys so hung up? This is yet another explanation of, you guys think death is like permanent? Really? The aliens just don't get that. The magicians don't get it. And so then we're at a point where LaRousse and Spock use this, because the Ch'talans magicians have busted out their universal translator, which is a bunch of asparagus, blue glowing asparagus that can translate any language. Well, they haven't busted that out yet because they're about to, because Kirk or Spock and LaRousse are given instructions on they're fighting back in their pig Latin. And it's like, ooze the Azerfay over air they kind of a thing. And so then eventually they pull their guns, and Tinny fires her phaser at one of the aliens, and it's set on 9, it's set to 11, or as it were. And it just blasts him into little pieces. But she gets stabbed pretty brutally in the gut. So McCoy gets to do some quick surgery. Put your hand there and keep, hold this artery together, blah, blah, blah. And then we get a little bit more discussion. When this dies down, they still don't get away, but they do get a little bit more of a lesson on the immortality of the replacement idea. And they use something to replace their fallen comrades called the Father Machine, which sounds interesting. I don't know what the Father Machine is. We don't know what the Father Machine is, but I'm pretty sure it's nobody saw coming what they're actually going to see when they debut the Father Machine.
Who's your Father Machine?
And they already said banana, and I would have bought banana. I also would have bought eggplant. I would have bought that. Zucchini would also have been appropriate. Carrot, stick, I don't know, but we're not going to get any of those. So Scotty, meanwhile, has beamed down everybody else that's left. He's sitting there he's singing, he's doing this drinking game where you have to recite Scottish poetry, and if you're the guy who can't remember the line, or you flub the line, you got to take a drink. He's all by himself, but he's reciting poetry and drinking brandy, and then the bomb goes off. Boom.
I like that chapter. I thought that was kind of fun. Yeah. I could picture Scotty doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, he's very much alone and doesn't want his ship to go away, and he knows that bomb is almost certainly going to blow up their ship. And the bomb does go off, but so then the action goes back to the inside of the planetoid, and then they're like, "Hey, by the way, the timer must have gone off." So you know what that means? It means that the bomb did not destroy the sphere. So that's good.
Yeah.
And then of course they lead them down. Finally, they have of course our crew has once again taken themselves out of jail by accosting the magicians with phasers, and then they take them down into this underground lair where their phasers don't work, and all of a sudden there's magicians coming out of the woodworks, and they're armed to the teeth with knives and swords and scimitars and cutlasses and foils and butterfly knives and steak knives and butter knives and that knife the thing you use to sharpen your knife. It's a stick, but you could totally stab it through somebody. They got one of those. And
I don't know. I'm thinking more potato peelers might be
peelers. Yeah, absolutely. It's totally appropriate given what we're about to find out. So it's a trap, is what I'm saying. It's a trap. So the Scotty and Enterprise survived. But there's no power. They don't even have power for communication, let alone life support. There's no way Scotty can let anybody know that they've survived. And that's when the magicians bust out their asparagus translator, and that can even understand the pig Latin. Yeah.
Why didn't we have any McCoy Spock banter in this damn book?
Not a single one. It's amazing. Yeah, you're right. I think that's a -5 points for it.
Yeah.
McCoy Spock. And again, I don't think any of the novels have really done Spock McCoy banter justice yet. That's the thing. We haven't gotten that yet. I mean, nothing in any of the novels we've read so far is as good as like even Star Trek Beyond, which is just So I mean, that's the thing. This is your opportunity to like write the stuff that's absolute gold on a Star Trek episode. None of them have even tried. So now they bust out the universal translator, can even understand the damn pig Latin, and then they're explaining the father machine. The father machine, Spock at first tries to mind meld with just one of the regular guys, and there's nothing there. He puts his hands on him. There's nothing to read. There's no brain in there, which we're going to find out a little bit because Chapel is going to get somewhere else, or her is beamed down, and they have a bit of a phaser battle with a bunch of the Chichalans, and Chapel asks her if she can do an autopsy on one that Uhura kills with a phaser. Uhura blasts something out of the sky with a phaser, and it falls and breaks its neck. And so she says, yeah, Chapel, you can do an autopsy. So Chapel's doing an autopsy. Uhura blasted something out of the sky with a phaser. Sulu is doing zero-G acrobatics. Chekhov still at that goddamn science station on the bridge. Actually, they beamed him down, and he's doing nothing on the planet. Scotty's all by himself. Actually, Scotty thinks he's all by himself. Maybe Chekhov is... What's that?
Who are you talking about?
Chiggy. Yeah. So maybe Chekhov is still up there on the ship and at its science machine station, and nobody noticed because he's doing nothing.
He could easily have been just forgotten about because the author has forgot about him. So it's entirely possible he's up there. Scotty doesn't even know he's there.
Yep. So a lot's happening in Chapter 12 here. The Klingons, meanwhile, are planning. They don't know that the planetoid had survived. So, here's what we're going to do: we're going to beam their Nova bomb into the planetoid, and then we will reassemble it once it's there, and then we will explode it, and all the Klingons that are in there will blow up will die in glory, and then we will take it over what's left. That's how we're going to do this thing. We're not going to get stuck here because they're already stuck in losing power, just like Enterprise is. Meanwhile, Captain Kulane beams over to the Enterprise. He's pulls out his Doc Tog. He's like, "Ha-ha! I take this ship," and Scotty is literally sitting there lighting logs on fire. He went to the Arboretum, cut down the trees, and he's burning. He has a fire going in the floor of the transporter room. He's burning logs and the captain's logs and whatever.
Well, it's cool. I like it. It's cool.
And then this is when the Scotty has a line. It's like the Klingon commander sits down next to him. He says, "Oh, you humans smell lousy." And Scotty has some line with, "You're not exactly a bunch of posies either." And then I was like, I couldn't tell if he was calling him a bunch of pussies or a bunch of posies. And then I realized it's probably the same thing.
Yeah,
he's probably saying the same thing. But first we find out that Ensign Moore volunteers to go into the father machine. He wants to know what humans taste like because apparently the father machine likes to eat Klingons because they're bad. They have bad thoughts, and so they taste good. So he puts Ensign Moore in there, but Ensign Moore gets spit out because he doesn't taste good like a Klingon. So Spock's like, let me in. So they decide, okay, we'll lower you into the... By the way, the father machine is a giant artichoke. He said it looks like an artichoke crossed with a spiral staircase.
It's like a giant Venus flytrap, right?
Yeah, basically. Something like that. Feed me, Seymour! That's what it is. Really. And so, because, they're literally saying that. So Spock goes in there, and as he goes in, he tries to mind meld with it, and it's a little bit painful. But because what's happening is that the thing is literally digesting him, but the digestion that it's using is like a transporter effect, right? It basically kills him and then recreates him.
Yeah, that's
what a transporter does, right? That's what a transporter does. So it kills that version of you and creates a new version of you on the planet's surface, right? So
yeah, that's true, I guess.
Well, we learned about that from one of the earlier books where they're talking about the metaphysics of, it destroys you and then creates a new version of you and stuff.
Yeah, was that the first book?
I think it was the first book. That's right. That's how they got in the whole Spock must die problem in the first place, right?
Well, that's why I was so surprised that the Klingons are in this. Has it been 1,000 years already?
It has been. It's amazing how time flies. Spock goes in there and he gets to learn everything there is to know about it. This is when Chapel does the autopsy. The father machine digests and transports Spock. It knows, and this is when he's like, yeah, I know that the planet is a ship. I'm the pilot of the ship. I'm a big asparagus flying the ship from down here in my cave. So don't worry. We know all about it. We know how long we've been out there. These other things are I convert, energy into matter to make these people when I need them. And when the energy gets low out there in that space desert, I'll just eat up some of these T'Challans and turn them back into energy so I can keep flying around. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
And then
So the father machine is the only actual sentient life form, right?
it's
On
the
the ship.
only one. It's the only. That's why they call it the artichoke. Is like because artichoke means sentient life form. So also good with. I'll taste delightful with butter. Yeah, that's the thing. So he's explaining all this energy stuff, and then at some point he's like, "Yeah, by the way, the Klingons are beaming in this bomb, and I'm going to totally suck all that energy up, and then I'll have plenty of energy to go on. The Chitalans will all get saved. I can give you energy enough to get back to Starbase 3, and everything will be fine." So bomb goes off, nothing happens, and the Klingons are like, "Mother," just like that one gangster on
on
I Sigma Osha or whatever.
Piece of the Action.
Yeah, thank you. That's Piece of the Action.
No, it was City on the Edge of Forever.
No, it was the one where
it's
the same guy,
the
same actor, but
Yeah.
But it's a Piece of the Action. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come down with some of my boys. That's literally what the Klingons are saying. I'm gonna come down with some of my boys. I'm gonna blow up a Nova bomb in your mother. All right, so
Yeah, that's right.
So all of this being said is that everything just comes to an end right here. They figure out the secret of this. They're allowed, the brain lets them transport back to their ship, gives them enough power to get back to Starbase 3. We don't really know what happens to Klingons. Presumably it ate the Klingons because it just doesn't like them. We do get a little bit of drunk Captain Kool-Aid. What did he call Captain Kirk? Captain Quirk. He calls him Captain Quirk because he's drunk. Scotty has drunk the Klingon captain under the table while they're sitting there lighting logs from the Arboretum on fire in the transporter room to stay warm.
Yeah, it's 40 below. Haldeman it was his typewriter running out of ink or what? He just wrapped this shit up fast.
Yeah, I was like, we're almost done. I was like, we are done. What the hell? There's still like 6 pages left in the book. They're all like advertisements for like, the die-cast models and stuff like that or whatever. Because Scotty, they're safely out. They find Scotty burning wood to stay warm. And then and Kool-Aid decides that they're going to lead the Klingons in a suicide attack because it will be glorious. And then pretty much that's it. I mean, the Father Machine, the novel ends abruptly. I was surprised.
Yeah. But
I wasn't terribly angry about it. I don't know. What's your opinion of this novel, Rob?
I read it 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I had forgotten most of it.
Not a good sign.
But I wrote at the end, for some reason I had written, and it could have been the heat, but did I mention it was a heat wave when I read it on one of those hot days?
Crazy from the heat.
I had written best book so far. Now, I don't remember it as being the best, so I'm not going to rank it as the best, but I must have really liked it when I set it down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did like some of the stuff. I will say this. The idea of, I think that they did the similar thing to the Starless World, but they did it better. They did it more interesting. The Klingons were better in this than they were in that one. They were more like Klingons and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty good too. I thought we could, I thought it dragged a little bit in that middle part. If they had fixed that, it would have been a really nice novel. But it's interesting that having plants as bad guys is like, why don't we do that more often, right? Sentient plants. Yeah. That's kind of an interesting idea. A plant brain flying around in a spaceship, right? So,
and maybe we could have the Breeze be a villain at some point.
Nope, that would be that's not Haldeman. That's M. Night Shyamalan. Yes, exactly. M. Night Haldeman. All right, so that means that leads us to our top nine novels. Where do you have this ranked in your top 9, Rob?
Well, at the bottom, number 9, I have The Price of the Phoenix.
All right, so Price of the Phoenix at 9, yep.
Although, I'll be curious how the Battle of the Phoenixes goes. We'll see. Number 8, Trek to Mad World. With, all the idiocy of the second half of that book. Number 7, Spock Must Die.
Spock Must Die at number 7, okay.
Number 6, Planet of Judgment. At number 5, I have Spock shooting loads all over the place in Spock Messiah. Banging away. And that was the first one, though, that felt like it was actually had some Star Trek in it.
There you go.
Number 4, The Starless World, which was Haldeman, right?
I don't think it was Haldeman. Was it?
Oh, wasn't it? Okay.
It was
I
that.
don't
Well,
know.
I mean, were both of these books about the the Dyson spheres Haldeman? That would have been pretty
I
ironic.
think so. I think that was.
Right.
Let me look at my notes here. Nope, that was Eklund. My bad.
Gordon Eklund. That's right.
Number 3, Mission to Horatius, and it probably would have been higher, except I really thought that ending with the plague rat diversion for a month was idiotic.
Yep.
Cute, but not. Yeah.
Yep.
So I actually have this book ranked second, World Without End. And I have Vulcan with the misleading album cover, as it were, at number 1.
Well, that's pretty close to my list. So I have I reversed the 9 and 8. I have Trek to Mad World at 9 and Price of the Phoenix at 8. And then I reversed the Spock musts. I have you have Messiah at 7 and or Messiah at 5 and Die at 7. Yeah. I have them reversed. I have Messiah at 7 and Die at 5. But we both have Planet of Judgment at 6.
Okay.
I have Starless World. I have Starless World at 4. And then I have World Without End at 3, Horatius at 2, and Vulcan at 1. And I will say why I have Horatius at 2, even though it's got the rat thing at the end. This is why. I was reading that, and I was just so seething mad that they're like, are you seriously going to tell me that McCoy doesn't know how to cure plague? And the whole thing is, as soon as he said, we were just making that up because we knew none of you other yokels would have any idea, so Spock and I made that up to create a version. I was like, okay, that is not only is that like not bad writing, but I thought it was clever. They're like, you boneheads, we're the only 2 smart people on the ship, and you two and all the rest of you boneheads are just going to follow our little game around wherever we go.
That does seem consistent with their characters.
Yeah, I think so. They're working together. They're at each other's throats all the time, but they're working together. So that being said, my top 9 is not all that different from your top 9. So where does Trek number 10 take us, Rob? We just said how much we loved Price of the Phoenix, right? So, I'm sorry, the Fate of the Phoenix.
Yeah, we're taking a flight to Phoenix,
Woo.
And we will be, landing in the dry heat of gay pornography, with Kirks all around and Romulan commanders and the mighty Omni, and we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, I just can't wait. The mighty Omni. Yes, if you don't know how mighty he is, don't wait. Or wait 5 minutes, he'll tell you. If you wait around for 5 minutes, he'll tell you. He'll talk about himself for 6 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us this month for Journey to Bantam, our Cinema Color podcast.
We've done 9 books because we've done them all this year, right?
Yeah, we started in March or April of this year.
We're zipping right along.
Absolutely.
We're in month number 8.
We are going to be doing Star Trek Pocket Universes anytime now. So something to keep your mind in front of. But in the meantime, we got 4 more of these Trek novels, ladies and gentlemen. So join us next time for The Fate of the Phoenix.